Hi guys, it's All London Podcast. We're back again for another episode.
We are.
Season 3. Back
Season
again.
3.
Episode 2. It's Sophia, and we also have
Charlene.
and we've got
I'm actually I'm introducing myself like properly today because I feel like that's appropriate for the episode. Do you know what I mean? So,
keep it fresh.
Got to keep it fresh, fam. So today we have.
Hi, I'm Corinne.
So we have Corinne, who happens to be my blood hermana. And
That's actually quite appropriate because I speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes, she speaks Spanish, so that is very appropriate. But yeah, she's my blood hermana, and we thought we'd bring her in today because we wanted to talk about Black enterprise, uplifting Black people. I mean, as we know, as everyone hopefully who listens knows, that we're all about championing Black people, providing a voice, maybe from a different, sometimes an alternative perspective, but still, that is one of our main focuses, of course. Like, we just want to keep empowering Black people. And so me, Hermana, she works in the finance industry and has been doing amazing work for herself. So we thought it'd be really good to bring her in and definitely get her her thoughts and ideas, and just help to elevate and uplift and give people ideas, and help if they need to, any help in terms of getting into the industry. So yeah, that's who we have today. Do you want to add to that?
I was just gonna say, Corinne, do you want to come in and introduce yourself? Tell us 3 facts about yourself. So something you really like your favorite thing to do ever. Something that really
Wow,
I'm on the spot.
Whenever people to give an interesting fact, I never have one. I always struggle.
I know, I hate it, but I'm gonna get you to do it.
What have you done?
So something you really like. Something you really like, and something that's a red flag for you. So if you met a friend and you met someone for the first time, you're like, nah, I'm not vibing with you. Something you like, something that's a red flag.
Like, what? Well, she doesn't say I'm not feeling bad. She'll be like, I don't feel like we quite mesh. But
why are you putting on that posh accent? I didn't sound like that.
I don't feel like we quite mesh.
I've literally never said that before in my life. I've never even said the word mesh before.
Mesh.
Wait, what was the first question? So one thing that I enjoy doing.
No, not one thing. 3 things.
No, but they were all 3. It was 3 different things. One is
one thing.
Something I enjoy doing. Something I like.
3 different questions.
What was it?
So it's something that you really like doing.
Yep.
Something that's a red flag for you, and the third one is your favorite holiday destination.
Okay, you changed it, but I like that one. I like that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So something I really like doing. Well, at the moment we're obviously in lockdown times. So what I can really say is, I really like going for walks. It sounds boring, but
nice.
I need to get out of the house, and I'm very, very restless. And it's quite funny because basically I'm actually quite introverted. So I thought that
you're not introverted. Are you? No.
I am. I'm a social introvert. I am.
You're not an introvert.
Wait, Corinne, are you an Aquarius?
I'm an Aquarius.
Are you Yeah, she is naturally. Aquariuses are introverted.
No,
Same as Libra.
That's not true, because she literally is out.
Yeah, but it's because
Yeah,
her.
but when no. Listen, this girl literally is out every single day. If she could be, she still would be.
Obviously not at the moment.
Yes, but I'm saying if you could be, you would be. And it's at the end of the day, it's I just don't believe you're an introvert. I've seen you in public. I've seen you in public forums, and you're just not introverted. I just don't believe that.
The thing is though, introversion, extroversion is not about whether you're outgoing or not. Although I really even wouldn't say I'm outgoing. It's more about where you get your energy from. So I am social. I like spending time with people, but also like my own space. Overall, I don't do very well in big groups. I'm much better in smaller groups. And big groups, I literally don't know what to do. I don't know how what to say or where to do put my attention.
Me too, to be honest with you.
Same.
I think that is because my ascending is Libra, so that's probably why. Get that astrology shit in. But do you have any Aquarius traits at all, or Afia? Does anything?
Me?
Yeah, does anything
I mean, I definitely apparently
Aquarius
one of my perfect.
No,
I'm a Libra. But my perfect match, me and Aquarius are meant to align. So I feel we are very similar in terms of just being very laid back. I feel Aquarius is probably chilled, laid back. Just they like to be around their people. I think I'm more introverted.
Charlene's a weird face. I don't think she thinks I'm laid back.
No. I'm laughing because I'm not gonna lie to you, Afia. After last episode, Corinne thinks you're an extremist. So
What?
That's why I'm laughing.
What do you mean by extremist? As in what way though?
That's why I'm laughing, because
Are you laughing about the similarities match thing? Oh, okay.
I was was laughing.
In what way extremist?
Well, I just kind of felt of that a lot of the things that you were saying, was really strong views. Like, for example, saying that Keir Starmer is basically right wing. I feel like that's an extreme thing to say, and it's not true.
Like, she literally was messaging me like when she was listening to the podcast, and she was just like, Charlene, like, I'll be like, this is very weird.
Also, I also did comment that you weren't saying Kamala Harris correctly. You kept saying Kamala.
Kamala.
Yeah, that's not her name. It's Kamala. And the thing is, Afia, I'm really like sensitive about this because, like, my name's called Corinne, but a lot of people have all different kind of pronunciations. So exactly, and you just said it out loud, and that's that's upsetting. But that's why I get sensitive about first names.
And Afia feels the same way.
I mean, I feel the same way. Yeah.
So we've got to do better with pronunciations.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I thought her name was Kamala.
It's Kamala. Do you know what I've seen it? It's like how they write it in America is like like a comma, like COMMA dash la.
Yeah.
But obviously in American accent it's like Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala.
So I think that's probably why I'm like, oh.
Anyway, so let's get back to the questions.
I can't believe you called me an extreme. I mean, like, I think my views are just like very left though. I mean, so most of the time, apart from this podcast, I keep a lot of my views to myself, to be honest. Just because people do tend to view me in that way. But like,
that's what our podcast is for, right? So it's good that you're saying them now, right?
And also, people appreciate your point of view, and that's literally the aim of this, to like showcase a different point of view, because I could say we're both not aligned really with maybe the typical black experience, and that is the point.
And I think actually it's interesting to hear other people's points of views, because it makes you reassess your own, and you think like, I thought to myself, why did I react so strongly to what I heard you say at the time? And it makes you really think, like, what's my view on this, like, why did I really feel like what you said was extreme at that point in time? And it makes you really think.
Yeah, it's true, and I guess it's where you get your information from as well. I'm on, like, I follow a lot of people on Twitter, especially who have like very strong left socialist views. So I like that, clear, yeah. I agree with their points of views, and like the point of view is like, here's wild. But yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to hear like other people's perspectives as well.
But yeah, back to the question. So yeah, you said you answered the walk. So
the walk. Yes.
Red flag. Red flag, an extremist view. Is that one? we can add that to the list. That's fine.
No, I actually think my red flag is people who are either quite selfish or not very self-aware. So I think for me, I'm very like I'm very kind of focused on other people, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And I think a lot of time for me, I can always be like the sort of caregiver or caring one in an interaction. And I think if it goes for a long time and you never get that back, not that everything has to be reciprocal, but you start to notice it. So then I start noticing like selfishness or self-interest as a trait in people. And to be honest, I've lost a lot of friends over this.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that actually. That's something that's a good point. That's a really good point as well. I think it's so difficult when you feel like you are always giving and just not getting anything back, and again I've lost friends over this too, so
it becomes really heavy. Like you can only do it for so long. I think, to be honest, Charlene actually always gives me this feedback that I do this for way too long, probably more than other people would. Then it gets heavy, and at some point you need to remove that weight.
I mean, I think it's the same, but
I would say like about Charlene, I feel about you're the opposite.
What?
You don't give people enough of the chance. Because there's times I talk to you and you're like, no, that's it, it's cutting off.
It's actually very funny that you said that, because Charlene actually said that you are truly a cancel culture person, and she's not.
I'm not a cancel culture person.
See, this is with people I don't know, I guess. I mean, when it comes to like friends,
Afia is a cancel culture person. Listen, I think in terms of
in real life,
in terms of friends, I feel like I'm trying. What you need to probably understand.
Yeah,
is that
no, you do.
I'm actually trying. Like, I was probably a lot worse, and I guess people who don't know me haven't seen that journey. But like, I was a lot worse in terms of like cutting people off. But it's really from a place of hurt, though. Like, So that's fair really enough, it. So, but I feel like in recent years, I've literally not cut off that many people, and the people that I cut off deserve to be cut off. So that's it, really.
And what's interesting is I think this is another personality trait, right? Is like the active versus the passive. Because Charlene's saying she cut people off, but I don't think I've ever actually cut someone off. It's been more like a natural drift that I've let happen. Is the way that I would call it, rather than being like actively, I've decided not to speak to this person anymore.
Yeah, same. Yeah, same. I would
I can't live my life like that.
It's just a confrontation. I'm like,
yeah, no. See, I wouldn't like. For me, I think confrontations. I need to understand where I am, and I feel when I don't understand where I am, I feel very uncomfortable. Like I just feel really, really uncomfortable. Whereas like, and so yeah, in Corinne's life, for example, I'll be like, this person or that person, or whatever the case is. I'm like, like this has been going on for too long. Like she's weird and she's a creature, and it's just like, why is she still about, or why is he or she still about? And it's just like, I just feel like anyway, I like to understand where I am, but I get your point of view as well, which is like, you sort of just let things kind of like just let it be there. But I just feel like I can't live my life like that. Like I just need to understand my position in people's lives and vice versa.
That's fair enough. I respect that though.
I think actually, I think in the past I've been very sort of let things happen as they happen. I don't need to like curate the world around me sort of thing. But I do think actually being more intentional is something that I'm trying to do in my life overall. So I think that would kind of count in this kind of situation as well.
Interesting. And then I guess the third question being
holiday destination.
This is actually a tricky one, right? Because I really
such a tricky one.
Because you like to travel.
I love traveling. Obviously, this year has been very sad for me.
Listen, it's been sad for all of us, bro. What do you mean?
This is very true, very true. Too many cancelled holidays. I know, first world problems, but I love traveling. I love traveling. So this is actually very difficult. I think I would go with best recent holiday, and I will go for Singapore and Bali, which is actually a trip that I went on with my dear sister Charlene as well. But also we had a friend with us each, and then Charlene and her friend went to Bali. Me and my friend went to Singapore first, then Bali. I love Bali, but I also loved Singapore. Oh, and also, I mean, this is fangirly, but I watched...
This is fangirly.
Why did you imitate my voice like that?
No, I was really just making fun of what you said. I'm not imitating your voice. Okay, sibling rivalry or issues happening.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Okay. This is like therapy at the same time.
Well, I feel like we need to be our natural selves, otherwise,
Listen,
I like third wheeling. Like I'm really enjoying it. So
cool.
So
I was gonna say Singapore was very exciting because have you ever watched the film Crazy Rich Asians? It takes place in Singapore. And it's very exciting. Yeah. So when I went there and I actually saw places that were in the film, it was amazing. And then Bali was also really cool as well. I mean, Bali is like one of those places which, used to be untouched like 10 years ago. And now it's so full of tourists, especially like people from Australia and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's quite close to them, isn't it? Is it close?
Yeah, for them it's like going to Magaluf.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's like they see it as like a cheap holiday destination. Like that's literally what they all say. So like it is like them going to Magaluf or something.
But yeah, so I'll pick that as my favourite destination recently. But to be honest, I love a lot of places that I've been, but I'll stop there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like a girls on tour holiday? I've never done that in my life.
What do you mean by girls on tour?
Like, we're like, going out with the girls. We're going to go to like, wait, where are we going to go?
And that's where I get my impressions from.
Oh yeah, we're going to go Barker.
You know what? I actually have. So I've done some
But like Spanish holiday though. That's what I mean by like girls.
Lanzarote. You going Lanzarote?
Yeah.
So I went to Lanzarote.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, like the post GCSE, post A levels type holidays.
Yeah, them ones.
I did two of them. The first one was when I was 16, I went to Newquay, and genuinely, like half my school was in Newquay that week, and then and all kinds of other 16-year-olds. And then when I was 18, I went to Lanzarote. So I've literally done it twice.
There you go.
And they were both that kind of holiday.
Wait, have you done that, Afia?
I've never done it, and I've always wanted to do like girls on tour. I want to go Barcelona there. I mean, that's probably my limit. I'm not doing that Lanzarote.
Barcelona's not really
Barcelona's quite like a
it's not exactly.
Trip,
it's not even that. Well, exactly. But that's my limit. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing Ibiza. Actually, maybe Ibiza at a push, but like probably not.
Well, I mean, I went to Napa after A levels.
Oh yeah, you did. That's your version.
Napa was live. I can't lie to you. A lot happened that week. It was really crazy, and yeah, 2 of us came back as friends.
That sounds so dramatic.
Yeah. Sorry, there was only 4 though, but I mean, like one of them was already out of the picture anyway, and then the other one got dropped. So, wow. But like, I feel like it's good. I think that's a win. Do you know what it's like? Them holidays are very intense. Like.
Do you know what? I think I've had a few holidays where at least, even if we haven't stopped being friends, I've needed to take some space from the person after we came back. So I do know what we mean.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, I guess we've spoken about a lot of stuff, which I love. But yeah, let's talk more about you. So in terms of like, you know, as we said, we brought her here to talk about sort of Black enterprise and stuff like that. So yeah, tell us a bit about you professionally, like what you do. Yeah.
Sure. So I guess how I would kind of identify myself as someone who advises and coaches. So in my like job 9 to 5, but not 9 to 5 at all kind of job, I work in management consulting, which is basically advising companies on how to improve their performance. And then within that, I specialize in like people and change consulting. So that's basically if any company is going through some kind of big transformation, if it's like a new system or implementing a new strategy or changing how it works and functions, then advising them on how to manage that change and make sure that it kind of goes through the company in the way that you need it to. Or looking at kind of HR areas, so like, you know, capability of your organization, what kind of skills people have. So that's kind of my area of work. I've been doing that for the last 8 years with a couple of gaps. And then I would say everything that
I'm just trying to give you a break. I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear her presentation voice? Like,
it got very professional.
It got very professional real quick. I mean, maybe we'll definitely talk about this later, but like maybe there's a reason why she feels like she has to, you know, speak like that when she's presenting, you know, to do with her with her profession, you know. But yeah, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, it got very this thing where Scott's cadence where she talks like this because she's presenting. And as we're working at home, obviously I've been around her now a lot, and so it's very interesting to see her, you know, speaking to clients and stuff like that. But yeah.
That's actually quite funny. I feel like I've made it really formal now, but I don't really know. I think maybe because I was talking about work, so it instantly went to that work zone. But I was just gonna say, that's like my job, but I kind of see myself like as an advisor. So basically, I help people with things. So that's my job. But also, I'm a school governor, so I help the school with like, you know, how to run the school, look at their accounts, you know, like staffing decisions, that kind of stuff. I do some like what I would call informal career coaching. I mean, Charlene's my main client actually.
Literally, I recommend anyone who wants those services. I mean, she's going to start charging soon, so. But she's very effective, guys. She's very, very effective, and in lots of different industries as well. Like not just like corporate, but like I'm in the creative industry, and like she's very effective. So you know. Yeah,
like interview techniques, think about what to ask, and I think that's why I think, you know, I see career as like a sort of long thing. So that's why even though I have a job right now, I'm trying to think about what's my identity as a working person. So that's kind of why I went for the whole like advisor coach thing. So I think whatever I'm doing, that will be a part of it.
That's such a good point, you know. And I think that's something that we're both kind of thinking about right now, in Ophia. Like where do we see our identity career-wise? And although we're not in the same field, but yeah, sorry, what are you gonna say?
No, it's true. I was gonna say like I feel like you should always plan for the future, which is sort of what I'm trying to do now in terms of like working on music and stuff like that. Maybe it's nothing's gonna happen with it now, but it's just setting up stuff so that eventually you get to a point where you do actually want to be, so you're always thinking ahead.
Yeah, so that's a good point actually. I see, like for me, I think every experience that you have is you like equipping yourself for whatever's coming next or for a later thing down the date. So everything you're doing, you know, it can be helpful. It might seem really boring, like putting records into a computer system, but actually that's teaching you discipline, organization, attention to detail. So I literally see everything as like, what can this give me? How am I like setting myself up for whatever might come next? And that really helps me to try and find the positive in what can sometimes not seem like a good situation.
That's some gems, man. That's some real gems, and some things you think about, like when I'm doing my job, and obviously we don't disclose, but yeah, no, when I'm doing my job though, like there's some tasks that I don't appreciate, but at the same time I realise the experiences and the knowledge and also the technique that I've learned from those tasks. You know, as you said, setting out spreadsheets, although it's laborious, it's like, okay, but I know how to do this. I know how to like work a functioning spreadsheet. I know how to add things like, you know, freeze and panes and stuff like that, which is like, it seems boring, but actually very useful, to be honest. So, yeah.
And also those things are way more useful than probably a lot of things that you learned in school. Like that's more useful than, I don't know, Pythagoras' theorem or something. Not, you know, no offense if you have a job that uses that. But, you know, for me, I've not come across it in my 8 years. I don't think Charlene has in her 4 years either.
Nah, fam. No. Have you, Fia? Have you come across Pythagoras?
No, never.
Yeah,
never.
No. I don't even remember what it is anymore. I was even thinking that the other day, like, what's the circumference of a circle? And I just couldn't. I think it's like pi d, isn't it?
Pi d? 2 pi r. Same thing as pi d.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the question would be, I mean, yeah, what are the avenues into your career? Like, how did you get there? What was your journey?
Okay, so I'll talk about my journey, but then I'll talk about, what I think is a good journey. My journey is influenced by being the child of African parents. So basically,
mate.
Basically, when I was coming to the end of my university time, my parents basically said, you need to have a career and you need to figure out what you're going to do.
Listen, and let me tell you guys, inside scoop. This girl shed tears, yeah. She shed eye water, because when you have pressure from our mother, it's serious. And shout outs to you, mum, because I know you're listening. But yeah, she it was actually a very emotional time. She was like, I don't know what I want to do, and they were like, but you should have known 3 years ago, so what's going on? Like, it was very pressureful.
And I think it might have been because, to be fair, I had been through a few things. Like, there was a time where I wanted to be a lawyer. I think I had said I wanted to be an accountant. So I think there have been times where I had expressed a strong view of what I wanted to do, but by the time I got to the end of university, all that disappeared, and then I was at the bottom again of like not really knowing. But I did know a few things. I did know I wanted to work, and I knew that
she wanted to work.
That's true.
I knew I wanted to work.
So I don't really know what my alternative was, but also that I wanted to like keep learning. So applying for some kind of graduate scheme or something which involves an element of training was quite important to me. And luckily at my uni they had quite a good career service. If you're in university, I would really advise looking into that, because it might be like a service that you don't interact with that much, but they do have a lot of resources. They do a lot of like talks, a lot of people there who can help you with interview practice. So firstly, I went to like all the career events under the sun in my university. Like in my final year, I did no work for the first term, and I literally went to careers events every day, which is probably a bit sad, but anyway, it helped with what do I want to do. And I think if I think about what I was saying before about the whole advisor thing, I started figuring out. So I said I knew I wanted to do a grad scheme, and I was like, okay, in what area? And looking at consulting, I thought this is quite good because you can work on projects, you can advise people on stuff. So I'll basically try that. That was basically it.
I think you should also talk about, like, because you studied a sort of a very generic degree, and so like how did that impact, like,
Yeah, that's true. So my degree was economics, with a year in Spain, which I can genuinely say has made no difference to my career right now. At least in terms of the content. I definitely think that the skills are helpful. Like, I would probably say that I'm someone who's really analytical.
Well, you can speak Spanish now, innit?
Yeah, I can speak Spanish.
Is that why you
See?
learned it? Yeah.
See?
Yeah, no, honestly, the year that she was in Spain, she had to, all her lectures were in Spanish. So, like, she was on this thing, and all her exams were in Spanish. Like, crazy.
Mad.
Yeah, that was very hard. Very hard. But yeah, I think doing economics, it definitely shaped the way that I think. So I knew, I'm quite an analytical person. I like problem solving. I like looking at situation and figuring out how I can get out of it. And doing something like economics, where you're looking for trends and analysing, I think that's definitely shaped how I am now. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess that's kind of how you got into. So sorry, just finish your story in terms of like how did you get into. So you went to the careers event. You realised you liked consulting, and then
I just applied for loads of jobs. So literally spent my time like going on phone interviews, doing online tests. I just applied until a few things worked out. So I got to the final round of a few different jobs, and then I just kept going until something worked. Actually, one key part of this is there are quite a lot of organizations, if you're from like, disadvantaged groups, as they would say at the time, that can help you with getting your foot in the door, especially at that time. There was a lot of problems with access, actually, at that time and now, to be honest, not much has really changed. But there's a lot of problems with access and really like getting a foot in the door. So there were a lot of companies. One of the big ones is called SEOs. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, which is kind of like a student organisation that works with universities with Black and ethnic minority students to kind of help them get into the professional world. So I signed in with SEO, I applied to them, and it's like if you apply to them and you get accepted, they can help you with assessment processes. So that really helped me as well, because I had some like really good guidance of, if you're going to go to the assessment centres for this company, this is what you can expect. And all of that really helped me as well. So I think there's some really good organizations, companies, like another good one is the Stephen Lawrence Foundation, which are really like working like for Black people and ethnic minority people who might not have that advice. Like you might not have someone in your life who's done that kind of work. Like I guess actually I'm a good example. Like, you know, our parents, they've, you know, really great, hardworking, honest people. They hadn't worked in the field that I was trying to go into. So it was good to have other people you can draw on who have an idea of what it's like. And those kind of organizations can really help.
Yeah, no, that's really useful actually. So for all those people listening who are interested in that, SEO is a really good place to go. What are you saying, Afia?
Well, I was going to say, like, well, actually, I think you kind of answered the question anyway. I was going to ask you what barriers you came up against. Well, obviously, like, you know, access, you said. But, like, was there anything else? Was there anything that, like, you kept coming against? Like, you were trying to go for a certain job and they're like, oh, no, like, you haven't got it because of this or that. Like, what were your main barriers?
It was a while ago.
Yeah, really trying to wrap my brain, like, what happened these 30 years ago? I think in applying for jobs, I think in a way, maybe this is a good thing, I think I was more naive then. So if I really truly think, but I don't think I would have noticed those things at the time. But if I think about it now, you know, there were very like random things that I didn't get accepted for, and I really can't tell you why. Like, they just like someone else better. But if the person that they like better is always not you, then you start to think there's a bit of a pattern.
That's true, man. That's actually very, very true. And this is the problem.
Actually, one more thing on that. I also, something that I found quite a lot was all the jobs that I didn't get was where I really did not make any kind of connection with the person who was interviewing me. And I think sometimes when you're interviewing, you can kind of, you know, some people like really can like keep it straight faced. But most people, if you're forming a connection and you're getting on well, you can feel it in the interview. And I can genuinely say that everything I didn't get, I sort of knew that I did not make any kind of connection with the interviewer. And you know, that can sometimes be, you know, like if it's like an old white man who's not that interested in like a little 20-year-old black girl who he can't relate to, sometimes that does make a difference.
It's so real, man. And that's something that I think we all deal with. I mean, yeah, trying to sort of find that common ground, no matter what industry you're in, you know, it's really difficult sometimes. To find that place where you can actually like have like a conversation, because I think actually a lot of people say that the interview kind of happens after the interview because they want to, like, you know, if you sort of stick around, or you know, when they say, oh, do you have any questions for me, and then you actually ask questions that are meaningful, like a lot of people say that part of the interview is really useful because that's when they really can get a gauge on you. Because obviously when you're answering interview questions, it's like you're nervous, like you're shook, you're like, oh my god, like, have I answered you know, the question to the best of my capability, or have I hit all the points they've asked me to hit? But really it's like it's sort of how you sort of chat with them afterwards. And I know for some people that's actually saved them, you know, like that's enabled them to actually get a job, you know.
Yeah, that's true, because they really see your personality. Because, you know, a lot of the time it's like, do you meet the technical requirements? But to be honest, by even selecting you for interview in the first place, they've decided that you have. So then it's like, you know, what do I think about this person? Do I think that I could work with them? Do I get on with them? Do I think they'll be a good fit? And interestingly enough, those are things that can mean that it's more biased. Because if you're interviewing with people who maybe are really certain type of people, or really are used to certain types of people, actually that part of it can be quite hard.
That is very true.
No, I hear that. Okay, in terms of like your journey, what would you say has helped and hurt you? So let's fast forward now to like a couple years in, because as you said to yourself, you're 8 years in now. So let's say, you know, at your first promotion, once you were promoted from your graduate scheme, like what enabled you, because not everyone does get promoted, right? So there's like all these like scrutinization, you know, periods where people just get let go kind of thing. So what do you think has helped you and hurt you throughout your journey?
Okay, so in terms of helped me and hurt me, in a way they're interrelated, but I'll start with helped me. I think what has helped me is gaining more experience. I'm one of those people who I never like always I can do this. I like to learn and explore, and I feel like by learning more, reading more and knowing more, I grow more. So I think learning more, experiencing more, and bringing that into what I do going forward has helped me. And because of that, my own kind of self-confidence. So I think, to be honest, the thing that has really helped me is starting to have a better sense of self, and starting to have a better understanding of what is it that, you know, what is my kind of core way that I enter the world. And I was trying not to like say it in a really annoying corporate way, but basically where I work, they always talk about, you know, what's your brand? So
I mean, do you know what? Yeah, no, I mean, I think people have personal brands. I think if everyone branded themselves, and that doesn't mean that your brand has to be a certain type of way, but if you think about it, we kind of all have our own brand of person, right? So I kind of understand that. I think that once you get a better understanding on who you are, it makes it easier to present yourself to whomever you need to present yourself to, you know. So yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think basically I figured out what my brand was, and I got like really comfortable with it. And I think I took a long time searching for what was my unique brand. And once I figured it out and I got really comfortable with that as me, and whether people like that or not, whether they think that's the way to be successful or not, that's still me, and I don't need to change that. That's what's really helped me, and ever since then I've had a much greater sense of self, and I think that literally carries me everywhere.
So what's your brand?
So my brand is basically someone who can be a leader in complex situations and can really like bring together a team to deliver on hard stuff, and is always someone who's there when you need them, and can also, I've made it sound a bit complicated, I probably should give it a one-word name, but also is someone who's like cool, calm-headed, and in like a crisis situation can figure out what to do.
Okay,
so you work well under pressure.
Yeah, I do actually.
And you're a problem solver for like difficult issues.
These are all like the key buzzwords that they look for on a CV, don't they?
I know, it's really funny because when I was saying that, I was really like searching within myself to say it in a non-annoying corporate way. I almost said the word galvanized. I was like, don't say it.
Galvanized. Okay, but so that's kind of helped you. But what would you say is like that might have hurt you, in your journey? Maybe something that maybe it's not fitting for you because you've been promoted several times, but for someone that hasn't been, or things that you've seen maybe from other people that might have hurt them in their journey, in terms of progressing.
So I think if I think about what has hurt me and probably hurts other people, to be honest, it's all about other people. I think how you interact with people, how they see you, how you handle yourself in situations. It's funny because I feel like this is like really like the black child mentality or African parent mentality. Like you have to like always be so good that you don't give people a reason to see your weak points. So I've always had that kind of mentality, but that can mean that sometimes you like crumble under pressure, or that sometimes you have like so much like happening in the side that it all like blurts out at a random time.
Yeah, I think that definitely happens with you, because like I think she has these like you're obviously very strong, but then like sometimes you just be emotional. I don't understand why it's like I'm not sure how the crying's manifested. Like I don't know where it's come from. Yeah. And so that I agree. I mean, I feel, how would you like? Do you feel the same? Like having that built up inside,
I guess so. I mean, I think I'm a person who likes to ignore things, and then it comes crumbling down eventually. So I take on a lot of tasks, and I think that's just from working in places like retail. So working in a fast-paced place like retail, or when I used to work in Oxford Street, it was obviously so busy and high pressure all the time. And then you'd be taking on so much shit and dealing with so much abuse from customers and stuff like that, and then you get home and you're like, oh my god, you just realize the situation you've just been in, and then it all hits you at once. So yeah, it's a good
one. I think that also touches on not realizing when you need help. I think that can also really hurt you. You can be kind of going along and thinking you're fine, but you're actually really struggling, and then next thing you know, you're taking a career break, which is an example from my life.
Exactly.
No, honestly though, guys, I want you to understand. So one day she comes home, she was like, I'm taking a career break in 4 days, or however long it was. It was crazy.
It was not 4 days.
It was 2 weeks. It was it was literally so she literally comes home out of nowhere, no one even knew what the hell was going on, and she's like, guys, I basically just feel like I'm going to do rich people's charity work and either go to and either go to South Africa or Colombia. My dad was like, no, you're not going to Colombia because there's a cartel. So therefore, and honestly, we were so taken aback by that, because I was like, why? Of all things for my dad to say, he was like, look, the cartel's there. You can't go to Colombia, so you're going to go to South Africa or wherever it was. So. But yeah,
I think that's a good example of me not realizing I was struggling for a long time, and then it came to a head and I just had to remove myself. Like, I felt like I couldn't think. And it's really funny. I was talking to someone about this the other day. But I think really I was having like a mental health crisis, but I didn't think about it at the time. Like, I probably would have never referred to it as that. But this is like 4 years ago now. I would have never referred to it as that. And I really didn't think that at the time. I just was like, I need a break. I was having calls with my manager and I kept crying. So I was like, okay, this tells you that you need to take a step back and figure out what is your life and what are you doing.
And the mad thing about it is, I mean, imagine those two African parents, they come home like they were beside themselves, like they could not function. They were like, and it's like, you know, this kind of relates back to one of our past episodes where we're like, okay, look, if we're telling you or we're exhibiting, you know, a behaviour which is suggesting that something's going on with us, then like listen to us, versus like, because my mum and dad were like, you know, maybe you just need to take a day off, or like they just didn't really know. I think they just didn't really know what to do. I think because, you know, it was very surprising. So you know, I think that, but we're adults, and so, you know, we can make those decisions for ourselves, you know, and that's also something that maybe some of us, you know, struggle with too.
I think that's an important point that you talk about there anyway, is just like parent support. Because I think like now us as parents, because our generation is so different and we're so like tuned in with mental health and we speak about these things a lot more, it's going to be different for when our kids are going through that same sort of situation. And we're not going to say, oh, we all hate our jobs, so you just have to get on it. We're not going to give that sort of advice. When we're like, right, here's some like productive things, like let's do this, let's try and do that, you know what I mean? Like we'll give them more like proactive solutions, which I'm really like looking forward for, and I'm glad that our kids will hopefully have that experience that we didn't have. Not saying our parents did a bad job, but I'm just saying, you know, like the experience is very different.
Yeah, I guess it's just different generations, isn't it? How you see the world is different because of how you experience it, and every parent tries to make the world better for their children. So every set of parents is always thinking, you know, how can I make sure that my children surpass me, or that they do more than I've done, or that I'm giving them everything that I can to make sure that they have the best opportunities. And I feel like we'll do that for our kids, but the way that will look will be really different because of the world that we've grown up in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. And so I guess the big question, do you feel like being a black person, or obviously more specifically a black woman, do you think that's like that you've had to sort of change the way you present or carry yourself, you know, in your industry? You know, has that been a big impact on you? Unfortunately the race question is just important because we know that, you know, in the corporate industries, you know, black people specifically are like so underrepresented. I think was it like 4%, 5%, something like that.
Well, I mean, it's less than that because remember the actual population is 3%. So
so there you go. So it's like what population of what? Sorry.
So the population of black people in England is 3%. I mean, obviously in London it's much higher, but in all of England it's 3%.
It was 11%.
I think that might be black and ethnic minority.
Shut up! I didn't realise that, you know.
But obviously in London that's skewed. So I don't know if the percentages in London is different, but
let's double check that. But okay, cool. But I guess the point is that we all know that in the corporate industries, you know, you're completely underrepresented. So yeah, has that helped? Like, yeah, being a black woman, tell us about that. Like, what have you come up against?
So has it helped? Definitely not. So but what I would say is I think the main thing, so I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I think one of the main things is about aspiration and role models. So I think a lot of the time when you're going into a situation and you know, like I'm an ambitious person, doing well in my career is important to me. And, you know, I've been like, for the last 8 years, I've been like a climber, like just trying to climb, get higher, get, you know, more positions, get more responsibility. I think when you don't see that anyone else who's like you has successfully done that, then it can really hurt your self-image and your image of what's possible. You know, there's all the things like you've got to see it to be it, like all that stuff is really real. If you never see it, then you know, even if you don't realize, there's that innate fear in you that, oh, maybe this is not for me, or maybe people like me don't succeed here. And I've actually had that thought a few times. I've actually had that thought, like I've had conversations with people, you know, senior people in my team who you know, have said about what do you think about my future of my career and stuff like that. And you know, I've said, you know what, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me personality wise, but also, you know, will I ever get to where I want to get to in this environment? At the same time, you know, someone has to do it first. So I'm always a bit like conflicted with those situations. So I think aspiration and role models has really hurt me, or at least in terms of how I've found it. And you know, sometimes you just want people to relate to people who really understand, like the fact that so a good example, right, is living with your family. When I joined my grad scheme, like people found it really weird that I still lived at home with my family. Obviously, like if you live in London, if you live in South London, particularly if you're a child of immigrants, that's quite normal. Like you stay at home until you move out to get married or whatever. You know, the whole kind of notion of like moving out to move out is not a thing. Right, but like other people don't get that, and like they literally, I'd get loads of questions about why I still lived at home. And like one of my first managers said to me that she moved out at 21 and she'd never been back, and I was like, but in like a proud kind of way, like I don't really understand why you at 25.
Yeah, because people will want to be like struggling and be like, well, you know, I've got my own place.
Why would you do that?
But the thing is that I think also like it definitely depends on the situation. Also, I just wanted to say one thing, which is that it's 3% black people in the UK. So that is the actual percentage of black people. Yeah, I was gonna say, but the thing is, it's a situation. So like we have cool parents, like as in our parents really were chilling. My mum was a bit more trippy than my dad's. Again, shouts out to you, Flo. But like our parents were very cool. We didn't have any like curfews. Like we literally could do what we wanted. We had our own space at that house. So like it just wasn't a priority for either of us, to be honest with you, to not live at home. And so that's something I found as well. Like people felt that way toward me. Like you know, like oh, you're still living at home. So I used to be confused when people left home. I'm confused. Like if you're not moving with like a bae or with your guy or whatever, or your partner, sorry, I should say, or you're not moving with if you're like not buying or something like that, then I don't actually understand why you're leaving home. If your situation's calm, like that's just generally how I feel. Because if you live in
this economy, man, like it's just not
right. And if you live in London, like and we live in not too far from central London, so I guess it works in zones. So we live in like zone 2-3. It's like it's expensive, bro. Like it's expensive. So you know, if you've got a comfortable space, then listen, cherish that.
Definitely.
But in terms of like how you had to carry yourself, do you feel like differently because you're black? I mean,
I think I definitely always thought about like being professional and like how I do my hair and what I wear, and I don't think I've actually really succumbed to that much. But I can definitely see like people around me, you feel different. Like you need to dress a certain way, like you need to have a certain image, and like if you look at all the senior women, they have a certain kind of image that you can't maybe relate to. So I definitely feel like that.
It's funny because
I'm glad that you say this, because like we've yeah.
What are you
just I'm not trying to like say where we work, but basically I have had an experience where I've tried to push for like diversity within the workforce, especially those who are in like higher positions, because like I've seen like in so many places that I work, you don't really see like black, well I speak about black people specifically, you don't really see black people in those high positions, and then it does paint the message of what you're just saying, like am I ever going to be able to get to that point? Maybe black people don't reach that level generally, and like that is, I'm glad that you said that, because that is what is really happening, and that's what I was trying to explain when I have said this to like places that I've worked, and it just still is not clicking.
Yeah, do you know what's really funny? I think it's really funny because you're a minority, so you'd think that you stick out, but sometimes you feel invisible, is what I was going to say. Like sometimes you genuinely feel invisible, and I think I've had that feeling as well of, you know, not being noticed or not being like, you know, drawn out as someone who's like seen as a superstar or things like that. I quite want to get this one in. I've also been mistaken for other black women quite a lot, like especially early in my career. There'll be like 3 black girls on the team, like we're all really different. Like, you know, if you're going to give stereotypes as well, I'm not very stereotypical. So, you know, like we're all really different. And like literally I have people full on mistake me for someone else who looks nothing like me, has a different name, different voice. And they'll just think, because they've seen a black woman and they know this person is name X, that sounds black, it must be you.
I mean, it's crazy. And the thing is, you don't even have like what you might consider a typically black name either. No. So that's even like quite surprising, because, you know, a lot of like my Nigerian counterparts might have names that you might think are typically, you know, considered, you know, more ethnic, if you like. But like our parents actually consciously gave us British names for this reason, so that we would have more of a chance. And that's something else we should, you know, touch on as well. But I want to just go back to the hair thing, because that's something funny. And I'm laughing because Afia and I have a funny hair story where she explained how I comb my hair sometimes, but it's interesting because, you know, obviously, you know, as we live together, and so Corinne is very, very like, you know, every 6 weeks, 8 weeks needs to get her hair plaited, and like my hair's literally looked like absolute shit for the last 9 months. So I mean, I will literally walk into where I work and like my hair's not even combed, and they'll tell me my hair looks nice. It's like, it's a bold face. It's a bold face lie. Like there's one time where I saw Afia at a place, and I was like, yo, bro, like the front of your hair still. She's like, I know, fam. And it's like the people that may have been around us.
Did you say your hair's chatting? Your hair's chatting.
No, but the thing is,
always says that.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is that like, you know, but you need people to let you know, because like I've been literally I've literally walked to where I work, to where I work with like literally like one half of my hair in a knot, the other half like in part of a headband, and I've been told that my hair looks nice. It's like shocking. So like it's like but I think also, you know, to speak to a different point as well, like how the fact that you think you need to have your hair, like the amount of money you must spend on your hair, you know, because of the setting you work in. You know, obviously I work in a creative setting, so it's not really as necessary, and also there's no one to impress anyway. So
yeah, do you know what, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like I have to look presentable, but it's like, you know, what does presentable mean? And that means different things to different people. And I guess in that sense, I've like given myself standards of what I think is acceptable in the place that I am.
True, very true. Someone made a good point, like saying like, how come black women have to care about how their hair looks when Boris Johnson goes about the way he does? Because his hair is wild. How can you come to work looking like that? I don't understand.
No, but for
me, we have to have a certain type of hairstyle. That's
a very good point.
Isn't the mango? The mango one is the one that kills me. Like,
oh my god, the mango!
That killed,
because it is literally a Sox mango's hair. It literally is so accurate.
It's mad though. And then as a black woman, first of all, then a black woman in finance or in that corporate world, like it's just.
I've actually thought of something else. So I've thought of another thing. I think the other thing that you can feel is like the pressure. If you're always the first person, you know, you really feel like you have to set the standards for anyone else who comes after you, and then you also become like an instant role model to anyone else who comes after you as well. So for example, right now in my team, I'm the most senior black woman that there's ever been. There's never been anyone at my level in my team who's been a black woman. And so you instantly become, it's a nice thing, you know, I've worked really hard, so I'm really happy to be able to be that example. But it's also like instant pressure. If there's never been anyone there, you feel like you have to make a good impression. But also you instantly become like the bar for other people, and you have them looking up to you. And while I enjoy that, it is also like additional pressure sometimes.
And it's pressure that's not given to other people, white people
not
as
at
well.
all. Not at all.
Because you can be as mediocre as anything, being a white person. But yeah, when you're black, you have to be extraordinary. You have to be like the top of your game.
Yeah, it's the whole like, you know, half. What is it? Twice as no.
Yeah. You got to work twice. Yeah.
Work twice as hard to get half as much. Or you have to always be twice as good. I feel like, especially in work, you do really feel that.
I think so too. And you know, I want to touch upon as well, like you said that, you know, there's times where you felt like am I even being seen? Like I felt like that as well. Again, I work in, well, I guess you might call it partially a corporate setting, but you know, the organisation where I work, like I really felt like like no one saw me. I felt so lonely to a point where, you know, I would just cry. Like I'll just cry because I'm like, no one's talking to me, no one has anything to say to me. They literally all ignore me. They have social events where I'm not invited, and you know, it can be really hard. You know, you just have no one to relate to, and then it took, you know, took like over 2 years for, you know, some more relatable people to come in so I could actually like function. And yeah, it's really difficult. It's really difficult when you're the only one. And it sounds crazy to say, but I'm the most senior black person in my organisation, and I'm not even senior.
Congratulations to our sisters.
I mean, I don't know if you should congratulate me, but the point is that, you know, representation.
Charlene, you're going where no one has gone before, so you should be congratulated.
The point is representation is necessary. Right. So, you know, it's hard out here, man.
But actually, I saw something on that today. I think it was about you know, the whole Sainsbury's advert thing. Have you guys heard about that?
Oh,
absolutely
God,
crazy.
Yes.
The responses are just disgusting. Like they're just actually disgusting. I saw someone screenshotted it, I think, on Instagram. It's just absolutely disgusting.
And basically, I saw a really good kind of post about it, about sort of responses to that, and it talked about representation, because the thing is that, you know, representation is great, but I think what this particular thing shows you is that representation matters, but it doesn't solve racism in isolation. So, you know, basically you need both representation, but then you also need people in positions of power or decision-making positions, which I think you guys have talked about quite a lot on the podcast. You know, you can't really have one without the other, because if you don't have people in positions of power, then people get all stressed out about seeing one advert where the family doesn't look exactly like them.
Yeah.
And another good example is, do you remember the thing that happened with diversity on Britain's Got Talent and all the complaints they got about the performance? And it just goes to show that you can have representation, but there's much more to be done to, and I guess, get everyone to be comfortable with the representation.
I think the thing is about that though is that people of the UK, and like this is again like how people like Donald Trump get elected, is that they feel isolated and they feel left out, and like white people think, oh, we're being forgotten, this is our country. Now all crazy. I'm seeing on TV is like blacklist, da da da, and then people feel isolated, and then it just makes them more extreme.
That's not actually true though. It's one advert, a few TV programs.
No, exactly. It's not true at all. Yeah.
Well, no, actually, they did a study.
But because they've seen one.
Well, there's a study.
Yeah, because they've seen one, they think that it's all everything.
Apparently, there's a study which says that actually we're overrepresented now. I don't know if you've seen that. That came out quite recently as well.
Wow.
That we're overrepresented because every single TV show, TV show has either a black or person of color member in the cast or presenter, and so apparently we're actually now overrepresented because it doesn't directly correlate with the population.
Because it's not in line with the percentages. But the thing is, I think you actually did tell me about that, and I think it's something like 20% or 30%. Actually, I probably shouldn't say stats without having facts.
But it was basically, supposedly it was a higher percentage than the population of people of colour and or black people in the UK, which we can confirm is around 13% people of colour, or basically 13% non-white people, and 3% black. So,
but that's interesting, right? Because if you think about that, yes, there are more black people in TV shows, but black-driven shows is still quite rare. So I think I just find all of that actually it's not really funny. Yeah. Funny is not the right word, but hard to understand.
Though. And I think to come with that as well is colorism as well. Like someone pointed out that like shows back then, like do you remember like Girlfriends, Moesha and all that stuff, that typically featured like darker skinned black women, whereas the shows now that come out always like a light skin or mixed race woman. So like we have diversity, but like it seems like a black woman can only be a certain shade and not like dark skinned women. The only like dark skinned female led show that I've seen recently is obviously Insecure. Other than that, like I've not really seen anything that features dark skinned women. I think that obviously
the USA is doing a lot better than the UK, to be quite
I mean,
all our shows, all our black shows are like past tense, like Desmond's. I mean, I'm drawing a blank after Desmond's. What else is on? What else is on UK?
Do you remember that show that came on? It was on like BBC One, and it used to come on so late, and it was a British family.
I May Destroy You.
What was it called?
Oh yeah, I May Destroy You. That's true. That's a good one. And obviously Chewing Gum as well. And then you had
also Noughts and Crosses.
Yeah, Noughts and Crosses. And also Family Affair had a black person.
One black person. Well, the thing is, the soaps, if you think about it, they tended to have like one black family. Think about Hollyoaks. That's where Ricky Whittle got his big break.
And Natalie Emmanuel.
Yep, and Natalie Emmanuel.
he was in Footballer's Wives before, wasn't he? Do you remember? Do you remember Footballer's Wives?
No, I remember Footballer's Wives. I just don't remember him in that. But I think Hollyoaks has actually launched a career for a lot of people. Jem Atkinson
so many people on Game of Thrones are like from there.
Yeah, Natalie Emmanuel and other people as well. Pretty much everyone British. But it's representation matters, man. And it's just so important. I'm just thinking, do you have any other questions in terms of yourself? Yes, I guess maybe it might be a good time to get to how to get your foot in the door, what advice you have. You kind of touched upon it earlier, but maybe we can have like a cohesive advice that you would give, to get for people to get their foot into the door, especially in the corporate sector. What would you advise? And people of colour, because we're shouting out to our black people here. So
so to get your foot in the door, I feel like now is a good time, because now that companies have woken up, they're doing all kinds of schemes. So the main thing is take advantage of all of that.
Positive discrimination.
Yep. I mean, it's there for a reason, so take advantage of it. Apply. Look all around. I think also be open-minded. It might not be the thing you want, but the thing that you're looking at could be a really good way to get your foot into the door, or for example, join a big company but maybe in a role that isn't your perfect role, and then move around when you get there. Think about different kinds of opportunities. Think about taking on some volunteer work. A lot of the time, positions of responsibility, like if you help out at a charity or stuff like that, always look really good on the CV, and they teach you really good leadership skills. So I feel like overall what I'm saying is broaden your mindset, but also broaden your experience, because then you're always adding stuff to your toolbox, but you're also making yourself open to all the different opportunities that are out there. that's my how do you get your foot in the door. Then the advice one, I would say, this is something that someone said to me and I repeat it all the time. So at one point I was going on like a secondment, so working in another company for a while, and I was getting quite worried about what it would be like, would I be able to manage? And I talked to like a person in my team at the time, and she was like, you know what, focus on what you do know, not what you don't know. Focus on what you can bring, not what you can't bring. And I think that very like that can not can't attitude is probably like the one thing that someone's ever said to me that has really stuck with me. I'm saying it now, I've repeated it like 5 times in various forums. Maybe I should have pretended it was exclusively for you, sorry. But I think that's really the best advice I would give. Like, for every situation you're in, there's always something that you can bring to it. Like you always have something within you that is helpful. So focus on that. Don't focus on the rest of it.
Okay.
Good advice.
That was very good advice.
That is good advice.
And so, yeah, with that in mind, I mean, Afia, what are you saying?
I was gonna do like the last bits now. Like, I think like that was very informative, and I really hope that people like find that information useful, especially as people of color, because like Corinne was saying, we don't really see ourselves in that sort of role, and like hearing someone who's been as successful as Corinne is like just inspirational to hear, and I would motivate a lot of people, hopefully. But yeah, like I think our last thing would be like your thoughts on the current events. Obviously last week we spoke about the presidential election. Sorry, how do I say it? Kamala.
It's like, you know, like
Kamala.
it's like, oh
okay,
no, it's
Kamala,
like Charlene,
okay,
like
fine.
Kamala,
yeah. I'm really bad with pronunciation. Pronunciation, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. Yeah, what are your thoughts on like all of that's been going on? Were you following it? I'm sure you were following it because Charlene was like messaging about it.
I have a problem, like, and yeah, she gets to see just the manicness of my mind, and like I'm so docile but at the same time just so manic, it's weird. So yeah,
I was following it because, well, first of all, I live with someone who was obsessed, but also also I'm really interested in politics, and I'm really interested in US politics in particular. I became like full on obsessed with the Obamas when they were in office. Like, everyone who knows me, like whenever they see anything about Michelle Obama or Barack Obama, they always send it to me because they know that I love them. So but yeah, so I was following it. I am relieved. I think for me, you know, it's obviously really horrible to think about how divided the US is, and the US is really like a representative of the world. So it just makes me worried for like the rest of the world. I feel like what the US has really done is like surface all of the white supremacists and all of the people with these really divisive views. We haven't quite got that in the UK yet. I mean, things like the advert, you're starting to see it. So I guess I'm both relieved at the result, but also worried about what it's revealed about the world. Then again, you know, you can't fight the enemy that you can't see. So so maybe it's a good thing. You know, obviously like we talked about role models and aspiration. Kamala Harris's achievement is amazing in that respect. Joe Biden seems like a good person. I think what I take from all of this is that I got really worried for a while that people's character didn't matter, and that people only cared about like the economy, and you know those things are really important, but that it's fine to have someone who's a fascist, really controversial, does not care about the society, but they've created some jobs, so that's fine. Like, I got worried that was how people felt.
But he didn't even really create the job, so it's just like, it's just misinformation. I think it's just a lot of misinformation, which is really unfortunate, and obviously social media has perpetuated that so much more. But yeah, just a lot of misinformation. People are like, I'm so confused at like the amount of support. I mean, this man literally has over 72, like almost 73 million votes. That's so concerning to me.
Yeah.
So concerning.
Still worrying that that many people were still voting for him. One good thing, like you say about social media, one good thing that Twitter is doing is obviously like they're saying that what Donald Trump is tweeting are not facts. So I'm really happy that they've started to do that. They're like, sorry, we cannot confirm this is true. It's like, you just chat shit, and
really
he's still tweeting that he's won the election. It's like, you obviously haven't won it. Like, we have to move on now. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say, do you think like the UK will ever get their chance? Because I was gonna say, like, obviously you were saying thing, like people are speaking out against like the white supremacy that is in America. And the thing is with the UK is that we lack so much we lack the honesty of, like, I don't think Americans are more honest than us, but like the British people are very like polite. No one likes to say anything that's out of turn, and like they're not as honest as maybe what the Americans would be. So I feel like that's why Jeremy Corbyn may have been too strong for this country.
Well, yeah, we're too covert. We're covert, that's it.
So
we're covert, they're overt, and that's literally the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people weren't really ready for him. I think what I worry about is like in my like immediate circle, it seems like really big change. You know, I see people at work and people who I'm friends with or in my outer circle really like taking this seriously, but obviously there's like whole sections of the country that maybe this didn't even touch them at all. And I guess that's what I worry about, that, you know, it's kind of like with Brexit. You know, I really was convinced Brexit wasn't going to happen because I did not know anyone who was going to vote for it. But it happened. So you're really like influenced by what you're around. So I feel like in a way we don't really know the scale of the problem.
100%. See, this is like you calling me an extremist. Oh no, I'm just gonna read again because the people. Because it's true though, because like it's the people you surround yourself with. My friends like generally have like very left wing and like, I don't even want to say liberal is not the word because very left wing.
Why is liberal not the word?
When I speak, I mean, like, I think liberal people, like, they're very much in the centre and sit on the fence with a lot of opinions. They're sort of like, oh yeah.
I feel like you're saying that as a negative though, and that's probably why I said though. I feel like you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
You are. You're
saying in that stance.
No, but you cannot be in that stance. But I feel like you're saying that as a negative because even though I think you're extreme, I don't think it's a negative thing you're extreme. If that makes sense. I think
I'm extreme as well. But I mean,
no. What?
Yeah.
But
so like,
we've had a lot of dicey conversations. Is my point.
You know what, Afia? It's not that I think that you're extreme. What I really felt was the things that you were saying in the episode, like, were more extreme than I'd heard you say before.
Oh, I mean, I hold back a lot, but yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is that like the people that I spend time with typically have those views. So like me, exactly. I think everyone thinks like that, like whatever. Yeah. And the same with me, like Brexit. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, yeah, no way, like it's definitely not gonna happen. Everyone who I was surrounding myself with, no, definitely not gonna happen. And then it happens, and you're so shocked, and you're like, wow, like where do I live? And it made me really think differently about this country.
Well, exactly. And now, like, I see a lot of like positive action about Black Lives Matter, like in the workplace, in corporations, in my wider circle.
You know, I'm laughing at you.
Okay, in some corporations, but I just don't know how far that's spread.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I want to just be clear. I think some of your opinions are extreme, but extreme meaning that they're extremely different to mine. But I do think that, like, you're definitely someone who...
we've had, like, different experiences, definitely.
I do.
Say that comes into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's good that, you know, what you believe in, you stand up for. And I think that's how everyone should be, you know, so... just to make that clear. But I think it's good that there's action in some organisations. Some of it is all facade. Some of it is not even, they can't even be bothered. So I mean, I think it's a weird world we're in right now.
Wow. I think that ends it.
Actually, I have one more thing. So you asked me about why. I guess my final thought on kind of current events in the world. So I said about how I got worried about like good people would lose. I do think there's something in that because there's quite a big rhetoric, especially I guess bringing it back to the corporate world and my experience, that, you know, nice guys finish last, or that if you're really trying to be a good person, that's not going to help you. And I really reject that idea. Like, you know, I try to be a good person. I try to like be a positive force in the world, and I don't think that should hold me back. And I think that's my main kind of one of my main philosophies in life. And I think the result of the election gave me a bit more hope that I can continue to like live my life in that way.
Yeah, that's a nice way to end. There's hope for good people, man. But yeah, we want to say big shout outs to Corinne for joining us today, and hopefully, you know, you found this really useful. Do let us know if you want her to come back. She is really helpful, but she's also busy, so don't holler her. And but yeah, no, thank you so much. And yeah, if you want to, you know, any advice from her, maybe we'll link her IG with her permission or something like that. So actually we will actually. So yeah. But yeah, that's it from us this week. Thank you so much for listening. We got to 1,000 listens, which is really, really exciting.
I just want to also thank like Corinne first of all, because I feel like you're like our biggest fan, because like you're always like reposting.
I'm a cheerleader.
Always liking. I'm like, yes, thank you. So yeah, and I'll wait. And also, I still don't think U2 are a good band. I just want to like make that clear, because you did message me about this, U2 as a band.
Oh.
And yeah. Sorry.
All I was saying was they do have some good songs. I'm not gonna say like I'm a U2 super fan, but they did have some good songs. Just listen to one and tell me it's not a good song.
I mean, I have, and yeah.
Lol, that's it from us anyway. Over and out.
Over and out. See you guys there. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.